I would not do a project where I have to play a character that is getting raped. It sounds very fancy and arrogant for actors to sometimes say that they are picking roles, because most of the time they're waiting for the phone to ring. Something that will upset the people who've raised me. This industry is too male dominated, and it's not something I want to be part of, because I've heard these horror stories. 18, 19, okay, I understand. I have all these fears. Oh my God, am I going to make it? Is it so hard? And 45 also, I'm like, oh my God. It's not right. It's not right. And I don't want to waste my time judging who's doing what.
Hello and welcome to this very special conversation. We are at the 78th Cannes Film Festival, and with me is a very special guest, Tillotama Shome. Thank you so much for making time for Brut.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tillotama, I want to start with a lot of the roles that you've played have represented marginalized people and communities. How do you pick your roles?
I think they pick me. It sounds very fancy and arrogant for actors to sometimes say that they are picking roles, because most of the time they're waiting for the phone to ring and get work. So I think they choose us. And from what comes to you, there will be things that you're very excited about, and there will be things that for you seem like they just don't work with your taste. And I think that's a very immediate feeling. It's like a vibe, it's like so there are scripts that may work for somebody else. It's just not something that makes me feel comfortable. And sometimes it's not even about the parts that I am playing, but it is about the way someone else is represented in the film.
Could you give us examples of?
It's like sometimes the stereotypes that are perpetuated about women and men, which I don't want to promote, because I fought so hard in my own life to be someone who is fighting my own kind of narrow way of thinking. And it's hard. We are programmed to think in a certain way about ourselves, so then those kind of representation of a woman who's helpless, or a man who's violent, or the sense of misogyny, inverted misogyny, these are things that I have seen my ma and my mashi and my really fight in their own lives. So to think that having got the privilege of an education, of having had mothers who fought those prejudices, to be the next generation that goes back to perpetuating it just to get a paycheck, just to be in a film, seems really wrong. So these are things I don't have any kind of intuitive sense about what will do good business and what will have a great opening, or what will be successful, but I have a gut feeling about something that will upset the people who've raised me. And I have a gut feeling about something that I look back at and I'll give you an example. For instance, I would not do a project. For instance, I did one, but I would not do a project where I have to play a character that is getting raped. You asked for an example. And why is because I think there is no point for me in cinematically showing rape unless it reveals the mindset, the psyche of the rapist, so that I can understand why. Why did you do that? But to show the act of violence, it's 2025. I don't want my body to even go through that fictionally. And I will do it if the camera is entirely from the point of view of the woman. What's going on? What are you doing? What did you eat today? What happened today? Who hurt you today? How long have you been hurt for? If that is so, and then you don't have to show the woman's body go through it. I think the location of the wound cannot be again and again and again and again in fiction, in real life. So like this is something I didn't know when I was younger, right? But when I did one film where I had to do that, I realized that this is not something I want to do, because what does it do? What does it serve? That it's a bad thing? We know that. And when you show it again, fictionally, what do you gain? Yeah.
Do you think to be able to tell stories more from a women's perspective, and a women's point of view, we need more writers? What is it that we need to make this change?
So before you asked something about marginalized women,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
in the previous question.
Yes.
Tanushri, the director of Bakshabondi, said something very beautiful. She said, "How thick is this margin? The women we have played
How thick is this margin?
are 95% of the women in
They are
India.
not, the word margin itself is...
But they're not the margins.
They are the majority. Yeah.
The women who work in our homes, the women who are like running the world, literally, I mean the sheer number of women in the service industry, taking care of their families, working, going to work, daily wage workers. Compare that to the number of people who are
Sitting in an office,
it's a small percentage.
It's a small
They are the
percentage.
margins. No, so actually I have not played women in the margins.
You've played the majority.
I have played the majority. I'd like us to change this narrative. That when we represent women who make up for the majority population of our country, we are not playing, it's not a minority. It is a majority. And they've been marginalized because of the narrative of the few people with power and money and privilege. They have built it up. They have made us believe that they are the margins. It's just it's a narrative spin. It's the best spin. It's like a spin doctor doing their magic to make you feel that you who occupy this space, the majority space, are the margin. How? So yeah. Sorry.
No,
now
not at
about
all.
women, you said about
Yes.
Yeah.
I was asking you, what would it take to tell stories from a women's point of view in our industry?
I think having it's the writing. It starts really with the writing. I think whether written by a man or a woman, it's how you look at something. It's not about it being gendered necessarily. That only a woman can
write a
I mean, a
woman,
woman can write a film that's as misogynistic as a man. So I think it's really a matter of gaze. But at the same time, if we have more women in the room, whether they're technicians, writers, directors, coming together to tell a story from a point of view that has often been ignored. This whole thing about women is coming from, because it has for so long been from the man's point of view. So for us to change that, we have to even understand some basics. Just having more bathrooms for the women who work on your set.
Definitely.
Because women will get a UTI,
Definitely.
which men won't. It's changing the way you look at who are we making these stories for, and when we make the stories, how do we make them so that we can all move together, as opposed to women who have to, for a small thing like there is no bathroom, so they're running a high-grade fever while they're having to work. It's unpardonable.
It's unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. And we are not a minority. Again, we are, we
50% of the population.
Yes, so there is no question. This question of equity is not, it's not a need. It's something we need to demand. And it may not always be about it being a better film because a woman made it, or but it is still important for the number to be less skewed, so that a young woman can see those numbers and feel like she can add up and be a part of it, as opposed to being like, no man, this industry is too male dominated, and it's not something I want to be part of because I've heard these horror stories. So it is important for us to make women, to invite younger women to join our fraternity by making it safer, by making it more welcoming, and it doesn't mean it, it means the best films will be made. Men have made so many films that are not good.
True.
Right?
The onus cannot be because, it's made by women now. It has to be
Yes.
this,
Yes.
success. But speaking
Yes.
about welcoming women and making the industry more welcoming for women to work in, can you share with us a moment or an anecdote when you felt truly seen, truly valued by the industry?
I think I think recently there have been so many, and I'm
Okay.
so grateful for it. But I think it started with Sir.
Okay.
In a way, for me in Bombay, because I've done so many international co-productions and films, but they've rarely opened in India. They've rarely played in India, And so 20 years of working, and people have didn't see my work, and which was okay too, because I got to be part of amazing films, and there's great pleasure in also being able to get 5 minutes of being in the sun and then going back to the shadows, and doing something else, which is life, and living your life, and developing other interests, and being able to spend time with your family. But with Sir, that Rohena Guerra, the director, really changed something for me, because that was the first time I won an award in India, and when it came on Netflix, people in my country saw my work, and that was, the number of people who saw the work was overwhelming. It was really overwhelming, and then I understood, my God, for a long time I was okay to be, I didn't play marginal women, but I was okay to be in the margins, because there's a freedom that comes with it.
Right.
To be who you are, to not conform to the industry's requirements of being a mainstream heroine, or and it fitted well with my the way I was raised and the way I am. But it is something when it is also a beautiful feeling when your story and your film is watched by people in your own country.
Own country.
Yeah.
Journeyed into becoming a producer. And tell us what's that like. Tell us a little bit about the project. How did you select it?
The film is called Baksho Bondi, which is a Bengali film. The English title is Shadowbox, and we just premiered this year at Berlin in competition, and it was really an incredible experience. And what makes it more incredible is not just that the filmmakers Tanushri Das and Soumya Nanda Sahi are incredible storytellers and incredible human beings, but the collective that came together to make the film in an unheard, like there's no precedence for this. 19 people came together to make this film, to fulfill the vision of Tanushri and Somo. And our lead producer, Naren, came to me with the film more than 6 years ago.
Okay.
And it's been in development, with various drafts, of the story and of the screenplay. And it was a pleasure to be able to read draft after draft and see what goes behind making a film in which my involvement has only been from a point of view of an actor. And then when you step back and you zoom out and you get to see the whole picture, the various moving parts, the parts that are easier to access as an actor, for instance, the development of a story, of the screenplay, it was easier to access. But let's say the very tricky, sticky part of distribution is something that is it's a really uphill learning curve for me. But festival, for instance, is a festival strategy and programming. one would think that as an actor, what would I know? But 20 years of working in various films that were international co-productions, having met so many sales agents, festival programmers, just by observing, just by having been part of these, co-productions, one has actually absorbed more than one thinks or knows. But I think it fundamentally comes back to what Naren and the filmmakers, the directors made me feel. They welcomed me into this process, let me in. And I think that's the hallmark of this project. There's a sense of deep respect that each person had for everybody else in the room. And there was no sense of being a big boss. And that's very rare. It's very rare for people to share, and to keep the film as the center and not themselves.
Beautifully put, Tillotama. Do you think producing a movie was a lot tougher than what you had imagined it would be? Because now you're sort of on the other side, seeing all the moving pieces coming together. And I want to supplement that question with, I've been speaking to a lot of artists, actors, directors, filmmakers here, and more, especially when it comes to the Indian industry. I'm thinking passion projects and people collaborating and coming together to make films and stories that need to be told are now happening more and more. There seems to be a little bit of a shift in terms of financing, in terms of backing a film, which are probably, they're big budget. All of these are big budget, but so do you think there is that shift now, because financing is tougher, right? It's getting tougher all over the world for passion projects and movies and stories that necessarily don't have a formula to them.
I think that's always been tough. It's never been easy. When I joined films 25 years ago with Monsoon Wedding, we shot it in 35 mm and the world went digital after that. And I was told cinema is dead. But here we are still talking 25 years later, right? It's always been tough. And in the absence of public funding, most films will be like, it's private equity that's funding films. And like how it is in America, how it is in India. And I think this is a time of immense change. When things we knew and were very sure of
Don't exist anymore.
are crumbling.
Right.
But it's exciting, isn't it? If things, old structures don't crumble, new structures won't arise. I hope we can be part of the new structure.
Okay, I hope.
And that makes me hopeful.
Hope we can be part of the new structure.
Yeah.
Speaking of the new structure, how do you see the digital medium? Do you find it more democratic and inclusive when it comes to films, when it comes to telling stories necessarily which didn't get a chance? Or do you feel there's this whole conversation on OTT versus people are not going to the big screen to watch as much? Do you buy into that?
I mean, it is true. I don't have an opinion on it. It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, many people can't afford, tickets have become very expensive. It's become also, I think the pandemic had a huge, psychological, emotional, impact on people's lives financially. It was a hard time. And I think the OTT platforms became a lifeline for people stuck in their homes. And the landscape has shifted really dramatically, and I have benefited a lot. I've benefited a lot from it. I mean, I had some incredible projects that were very transformational for me. Even though I came very late into the OTT streaming platforms, but with Delhi Crime, which began the journey, and the last being Patal Lok. I think if I just bookend this with Delhi Crime and Patal Lok, I think I've had a great run. And now if a new structure and a new way, comes up, I'm good with it too. I think this idea that things have to just stay the way they are is not, it would be nice, but it's not possible. I think it's so inevitable that things will change. That's why I said about Monsoon Wedding as well, right? People who felt really afraid that cinema would die because we went digital. It's again, it speaks to that fear of not wanting to change, because it is difficult. It is very difficult, and OTT platforms are also re-looking at what is working, what is not working, and there's a general sense of, but I don't want to subscribe to this sense of fear and doomsday, and because as an independent artist from the beginning of my career, it's never served me well. Whenever I've gone into that loop of fear and cynicism, it's so toxic and it's so self-defeating that I'm just making it harder for myself. So I don't want to do this 25 years later. At least the gift of experience should be hope.
Beautifully put.
I mean, if you live more and you love less and you believe less, what's the point? If at 18, 19, okay, I understand, I have all these fears, oh my God, am I going to make it? Is it so hard? And at 45 also, I'm like, oh my God, it's not right. It's not right.
That's beautifully put. Yeah. How do you view in all of this, because you spoke about OTT, and rightly it's given actors a lot of new avenues and chances to portray different characters. The more we delve into OTT, and even OTT is trying to reinvent and see what's working, what's not, one of the phrases that gets thrown around is this project good enough to be your, like, the second screen? In terms of that, because phones have become, we are so addicted to our phones now these days, that even when we are watching a movie, mind you, could be in a theater as well, or watching something on OTT, your phone is still on. How do you view this? Have you thought about it in terms of entertainment, in terms of creators and influencers who are today also crossing over, also trying to find feet in entertainment, in becoming actors in what we say may be the mainstream film industry, and at the same time sort of have their own niches and following. How are you viewing these two worlds?
Look, it's very boring to to be someone who loves to hate. And I have to focus on what I have to do, and I have only 24 hours in a day. So who is doing, I really have not much to say. I just feel that telling a story in whatever shape or form, whether it's someone doing it on TikTok, whether it's someone doing it on Instagram, or whether it's someone doing through a film or a series, it's a human need to tell a story. And you tell the story the way you want to tell. And I don't want to waste my time judging who's doing what, and I want to understand how best I can skill up and learn so that I can tell it better than I did yesterday.
Speaking of stories and films being watched in your own country, Shadow Box, you've just showcased it in Berlin. We're sitting at Cannes. What's next for it? Are we looking at Oscars?
It would be amazing. It would be amazing for Shadowbox to be considered for India's entry to the Oscars, because I do feel that while it's a hyper local and deeply Indian film, the themes are very universal. And if I have to speak to one of the primary themes that makes it universal, is the invisible labor of women that the world takes for granted. It's like the clothes just get ironed on their own, the house just gets cleaned magically by elves, the food gets cooked, and then somehow the world somehow goes on. So I think Shadowbox is representative, even though it's a deeply Indian film set in Barrackpur in West Bengal. What I learned from being in Berlin and watching, European women react to a certain scene where the character says, but I need to eat too, because I'm human. And I saw how the women reacted to that, because they've been in that place where they're tired, they're exhausted, and no one asked them if they needed to eat something, you know. And I also feel like in terms of representation, when it comes to, you know, the Oscar, you know, what film would best, there's been so much controversy and conversation around it, but I think Baksha Bondi is a good fit, because when it comes to representation, I'll give you an example. Something happens at home, in your family, you know, there's a fight that happens or something happens. But when you go outside and tell the world about that fight that happened back at home, the world may look at your family in a certain way,
Right.
right? So when it comes to representation, in our desire to portray the truth, I may sometimes upset my family by saying that you said this in public about us, but what about all the good things? What about all the lovely things about us? You know, so I feel that with Baksha Bondi, while it's a very realistic look on the hard lives that women have to go through, and how much they do, the treatment is of one with hope. The treatment is one of love, that there is so much love in this family, despite how hard it is. You know, so it's not a representation of India which is, you know, which is just critical.
Right.
You know, so which is why I feel hopeful that, you know, it is a film that could speak to our times in a way that is gentle and at the same time truthful.
Gentle and truthful, taking that to the global stage. Tillotama Shome, thank you so much for speaking to Brut.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.